The 1990s marked a pivotal decade for Africa, characterized by profound political, economic, and social transformations. The end of the Cold War in 1991 had a seismic impact on the continent, dismantling the superpower rivalry that had previously influenced many African conflicts and policies. This period witnessed both opportunities and challenges as African nations navigated new geopolitical realities, internal reforms, and socio-economic shifts. Here are 5 significant changes that defined Africa in the 1990s post-Cold War. One of the most prominent political changes in Africa during the 1990s was the widespread move towards democratization. The Cold War era had seen many African countries governed by single-party regimes or military dictatorships, often sustained by Cold War superpower support or suppression of dissent. However, the Cold War's end diminished external support for authoritarian regimes, creating a conducive environment for political reform. Democratization wave. Many African nations transitioned towards multi-party democracies. Countries like Nigeria, Kenya, Ghana, and Zambia held their first or subsequent multi-party elections, marking a shift away from authoritarian rule. For example, Nigeria's transition from military rule to civilian government culminated in the election of Olusegun Obasanjo in 1999, ending decades of military dominance. Similarly, South Africa's apartheid regime faced increasing internal and external pressure, culminating in the first multiracial elections in 1994, which elected Nelson Mandela. End of military regimes. Several militarily ruled states transitioned to civilian rule. Military leaders, often justifying their actions as restoring stability, faced increasing resistance from civil society and international actors. Countries like Nigeria, Sudan, and Zaire, now the Democratic Republic of Congo, experienced military withdrawals from political power, although some transitions were fraught with instability. Challenges of democratic consolidation. While many nations adopted democratic frameworks, the transition was often fragile. Electoral processes sometimes suffered from irregularities, and in some cases incumbent leaders manipulated the system to retain power. Nonetheless, the overall trend was towards increased political pluralism, driven partly by internal demands for governance reforms and partly by the waning influence of Cold War geopolitics. The Cold War period had been marked by numerous proxy conflicts in Africa, where superpowers supplied support to rival factions, exacerbating internal conflicts. The end of the Cold War led to a decline in superpower involvement, which for some conflicts contributed to their resolution or de-escalation. Conflict resolution and peace initiatives. In the 1990s, several long-standing civil wars either ended or entered peace processes. The Angolan Civil War, which had been fueled by Cold War geopolitics, saw a peace agreement in 1994, though full stabilization took longer. Similarly, the Mozambican Civil War ended in 1992 with the Rome General Peace Accords, leading to democratic elections. South Africa and the end of apartheid. The most notable conflict resolution was in South Africa, where apartheid policies faced increasing internal resistance and international sanctions. Negotiations led to the dismantling of apartheid, culminating in the 1994 elections that brought Nelson Mandela to power. This was a landmark in ending racially motivated conflicts and establishing a new democratic order. Reduction in external support for rebel groups. The decline of Cold War rivalries meant that external states were less inclined to support rebel movements to oppose governments aligned with rival superpowers. This shift often facilitated peace negotiations and reduced the scale of conflicts. Persistent conflicts and new challenges. While some conflicts ended, others persisted or evolved. Eritrea gained independence from Ethiopia in 1993 after decades of war. The Rwandan genocide in 1994 shocked the world and underscored internal ethnic tensions, leading to regional instability. Despite the decline in Cold War proxy wars, internal ethnic, political, and economic tensions continued to threaten stability in various parts of the continent. The 1990s saw a significant shift in Africa's economic policies, moving away from state-led development models towards liberalization, privatization, and integration into the global economy. Structural Adjustment Programs (SAPs), imposed by international financial institutions like the International Monetary Fund (IMF) and World Bank, Many African countries adopted SAPs aimed at reducing fiscal deficits, liberalizing trade, privatizing state enterprises, and deregulating markets. Countries such as Ghana, Kenya, and Zambia undertook major reforms to stabilize economies and attract foreign investment. Growth of the informal economy. Economic reforms coupled with structural adjustments often led to increased unemployment and social dislocation, prompting a growth in the informal sector. Micro-enterprises, street vending, and subsistence farming became vital sources of livelihood for many Africans. Trade liberalization and regional integration, efforts to promote regional economic communities gained momentum. The Southern African Development Community, SADC, Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, and East African Community, EAC, aimed to foster regional trade and cooperation. These regional blocs sought to reduce tariffs, promote infrastructure development, and enhance collective bargaining power. Challenges of economic reforms. While some countries experienced modest growth, many faced setbacks due to corruption, political instability, and inadequate institutional capacity. Poverty and inequality remained entrenched, prompting calls for more inclusive development strategies. The 1990s witnessed an explosion in civil society activism across Africa, playing a crucial role in shaping democratic processes and advocating for human rights. Rise of civil society. Non-governmental organizations, NGOs, faith-based groups, and student movements became increasingly active in promoting good governance, transparency, and social justice. Their efforts contributed to increased political awareness and pressure on governments to reform. Advocacy for human rights. International and regional bodies, such as the African Union, established in 2001 as a successor to the Organization of African Unity, emphasized human rights and democratic governance. Countries like Nigeria, Ghana, and Senegal saw civil society push for electoral reforms, anti-corruption measures, and respect for civil liberties. Challenges to democratic consolidation. Despite the growth of civil activism, setbacks occurred. Autocratic tendencies persisted in some countries, and electoral processes were sometimes marred by violence or fraud. Nonetheless, the decade laid the groundwork for ongoing democratic reforms in subsequent years. As Cold War geopolitics waned, African countries sought new roles on regional and global stages, focusing on economic development, regional integration, and participation in international organizations. Active participation in global institutions. African nations became more engaged with the United Nations, World Trade Organization, and other multilateral bodies, advocating for their interests. The 1990s also saw increased participation in peacekeeping missions, such as the United Nations Angola Verification Mission, UNAVIM, and the Democratic Republic of Congo, peacekeeping efforts. Regional peacekeeping and security. Regional organizations like ECOWAS and SADC took on greater roles in conflict prevention and resolution, deploying peacekeeping forces to stabilize troubled regions. The deployment of ECOWAS peacekeeping forces to Liberia and Sierra Leone in the late 1990s exemplified this trend. Focus on economic development and aid. African nations sought to attract foreign direct investment, develop their natural resources, and participate in global trade. International donors shifted some focus from Cold War geopolitics to development aid, emphasizing poverty reduction and infrastructure projects. Challenges of globalization. The increased integration into the global economy brought opportunities but also vulnerabilities, such as exposure to global financial crises and commodity price fluctuations. Many African economies remain heavily dependent on primary commodities, making them susceptible to external shocks. In summary, the 1990s were transformative for Africa, driven largely by the end of Cold War superpower rivalry. The continent experienced a wave of democratization, conflict resolution, economic reforms, civil society activism, and increased regional and global engagement. While these changes laid the foundation for future growth and stability, challenges such as political instability, economic inequality, and conflict persisted. Nevertheless, the decade marked a significant turning point, shaping Africa's trajectory into the 21st century. Appeal to subscribe channel and like and share video.